The Congressional hearing room prepares for another round of questioning of the nominee for Attorney General. Pam Bondi sits in the witness chair as Congressman Cory Booker, a former Air Force JAG officer with extensive high-level interrogation experience, approaches the microphone. The central topic will be the Jeffrey Epstein case and the internal FBI files. Congressman Booker begins his time unexpectedly. Instead of jumping straight into questions about Jeffrey Epstein, he chooses to first establish technical ground. His opening questions concern the FBI's internal information flows, how documents move through the agency, what materials reach the director's desk, and what types of cases are treated as high priority. Bondi answers cautiously and institutionally, confirming that yes, files from significant investigations regularly cross her desk. There is a protocol for this, she explains. Cases that are sensitive, attract major public attention, or carry national implications receive direct review from leadership. Booker mentally notes each answer. He then asks whether the Epstein case would qualify as one of those significant matters. Bondi pauses briefly before agreeing. The case received widespread attention, involved federal issues, and spanned multiple jurisdictions. Yes, it would be considered significant. The congressman thanks her for the confirmation and presses forward. He asks whether the nominee has personally reviewed the complete Jeffrey Epstein file. Her answer comes with careful qualifications. Bondi states that she received executive summaries, briefings prepared by technical staff, and consolidated documents. Booker politely interrupts. The question, he clarifies, was about the complete file, the original raw documents, not summaries. Bondi acknowledges that no, she has not reviewed every page of the raw material. The contrast is recorded in the transcript. Important files reach her desk. The Epstein case is important, yet she has not examined the complete file. Booker lets silence fill the room for several seconds before continuing. He references a specific date, January 15, 2025. According to him, an internal FBI review of Epstein-related materials took place on that day. Bondi confirms she is aware of periodic reviews, but offers no comment on the specific date. The congressman then introduces a number, 47. 47 high-profile names, he states, were identified during that internal review of the materials. Among them were politicians from both parties, nationally prominent business figures, media personalities, and other individuals with significant public exposure. This information stands in stark contrast to previous statements from officials suggesting the investigations uncovered nothing substantial beyond what was already public. Bondi listens without interrupting. When given the floor, she clarifies that she cannot confirm or deny specific numbers related to ongoing or completed investigations. Booker shifts his angle slightly. He asks how many names appear in the final report delivered to the Department of Justice. Bondi responds that it would be inappropriate to disclose that type of information in a public hearing. The congressman presses, he is not asking for the names, only the count. The nominee holds firm. Such information is part of sensitive material, and its release could jeopardize future proceedings or compromise the privacy of witnesses and subjects. The refusal is duly noted. The exchange moves to a comparison of resources. Booker notes that the 9/11 investigation involved more than 7,000 dedicated federal agents. Other nationally significant cases mobilized hundreds of investigators. He then asks how many agents were assigned to review the Epstein files. Bondi consults her notes before answering. Approximately 10 agents were involved in the most recent review. The numerical contrast hangs in the air without further comment. Booker thanks her and makes a note. The discussion returns to semantics. Booker refers to prior public statements in which officials claimed there is no client list in the Epstein files. He asks whether Bondi stands by that assertion. The nominee replies that there is indeed no document specifically titled client list or anything equivalent. Booker rephrases, but do names of individuals appear throughout the documents? Bondi agrees that yes, numerous names appear across the investigative materials, as is common in any complex investigation. The congressman highlights the distinction. The absence of a neatly organized list does not mean the absence of identified names. He then raises the question of Jeffrey Epstein's death. The official conclusion was suicide by hanging in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in August 2019. Booker cites opinions from independent forensic pathologists who reviewed publicly available photos and reports, suggesting the neck injuries appear more consistent with homicidal strangulation than gravity-assisted hanging. Bondi responds that the official autopsy report determined suicide, and that remains the position of the federal government. Booker asks about the security cameras that simultaneously malfunctioned on the night of the death, the guards who failed to conduct required rounds, and the cellmate who was removed hours earlier. Bondi replies that those irregularities were investigated, that some staff faced administrative consequences, but that nothing altered the conclusion regarding the cause of death. Booker does not press the point further, but leaves it hanging. He moves to the next question. Will any portion of the materials related to Jeffrey Epstein remain permanently classified or withheld from the public? The nominee requests that the question be made more specific. The congressman rephrases directly, considering all files, documents, recordings, depositions, and materials collected by the FBI concerning Jeffrey Epstein and associated individuals, will the entirety of those materials eventually be made public, or will some portion remain restricted? Bondi answers that certain materials are and will remain protected for reasons of national security, protection of investigative methods, witness privacy, and other legal considerations. Booker seeks confirmation, so some portion will never be released. Bondi confirms yes, some materials will not be disclosed. The congressman thanks her for the candid response. He then mentions the number of identified victims in the case, more than 250 individuals, many of whom were minors at the time of the abuse. He asks whether Bondi believes those victims have a right to know the full truth about who was involved in Epstein's network. The nominee responds that the victims deserve justice and that the government works within legal bounds to deliver that justice. Booker observes that legal limits and complete truth do not always align. He concludes his round of questioning by stating that the transcript of this testimony will be publicly available, that victims and history will have access to these statements, and that the lack of full transparency will be equally recorded. Bondi thanks him and states that she has fulfilled her duty to answer within legal parameters. The committee chair announces a 15-minute recess. Staffers approach Bondi's table with additional folders. Congressman Booker remains seated, reviewing his notes. The room gradually empties as reporters move toward the outer corridors.